If you've ever tried to learn a new language, you definitely know the feeling. You've memorized all the flashcards, you've studied the grammar, but the second it's time to actually speak, you just freeze up. So today, we're going to dig into why that happens, and I'll tell you right now, it's probably not what you think. It has less to do with knowledge and more to do with confidence. I mean, seriously, why is it so hard? It's a question millions of us ask, right? You can read it, you can write it, no problem. But then, just trying to say a simple sentence out loud, it can feel like you're climbing a mountain. So what is it that makes speaking feel so incredibly intimidating? Well, here's the secret. The biggest thing holding most of us back, it's not about the words we've memorized. Not at all. It's that fear, you know? The fear of getting it wrong, of sounding silly, or just plain not being understood. The real mission here isn't just about becoming fluent. It's about finding your voice. Okay, so if confidence is the key, how do we build it? Well, there's a new approach that's basically flipping the old script on language learning. We're talking about getting away from the textbooks and jumping straight into real, live conversations. Let's take a look at how that actually works. So there's this platform called happytalk.in that's really putting this whole idea into practice. And the concept is, well, it's simple, but it's also kind of genius. Forget those pre-recorded lessons. Here, you jump into live voice chat rooms. You're talking to real people, native speakers, other learners just like you from all over the world. It's all about practicing right here, right now. And we're not talking about some small little club here. The community is huge. We're looking at support for over 15 languages. So whether you're tackling Spanish, trying out French, or diving into Hindi, you're going to find someone to talk to. It's like having a global classroom right at your fingertips, 24/7. Okay, so let's break down how a place like this actually helps you build that confidence. First off, you've got options: voice, camera, text chat, so you can kind of ease into it at your own speed. They've even got interactive stuff like whiteboards and games to keep it interesting. But the real magic? The whole environment is designed to be super supportive and low pressure. Its main goal is to get rid of that anxiety, that fear of speaking. All right, so we get the what, but now for the big question: how does an environment like this take all that stuff you learned in a book and turn it into actual real-world fluency? And this chart right here, it just lays it all out perfectly. Think about traditional learning. It's often rigid, you're usually by yourself, and the pressure is on to be perfect. But with an approach like this, it's the total opposite. It's dynamic, it's collaborative, it's spontaneous. The focus completely shifts away from perfection and onto one simple thing: communication. It's about making a connection, not just about being grammatically correct. And every single one of these features is basically engineered to boost your confidence. The live chats, they're like real-life conversation simulators, forcing you to think on your feet. You're not just picking up vocabulary, you're getting the cultural inside jokes, the slang, the stuff you'd never find in a textbook. And maybe the most important part, it creates this space where mistakes aren't a big deal. They're not seen as failures, they're just part of the conversation. You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. The biggest strength of this whole thing is the community. By creating this friendly, non-judgmental space, it goes right after the number one thing that holds people back: that fear of making a mistake. It just dismantles it. All right, this is where we get to the really practical stuff, the core of what we're talking about today. Whether you use a platform like this or not, I'm going to give you 8 powerful strategies you can use to build your own toolkit for confident speaking, and you can start using them like right now. And I want you to think of these as habits, not rules. They're small things you can do consistently that over time are going to completely change the way you feel about speaking a new language. They make that goal of being confident feel so much more achievable. Okay, let's start with part 1, your mindset and method, the foundation. It all starts with active listening. I mean, really listening to understand before you even think about responding. Next, make it a habit to speak every single day, even if it's just for a few minutes. And here's a big one: learn your vocabulary in context, from real conversations, not just from some boring list. And finally, don't forget that your body language and tone of voice, they say just as much as your words do. Now for part 2. Action and attitude. This is about what you do. First, try to train your brain to actually think in the language you're learning. It's a game changer. When you're talking, ask those open-ended questions that keep the conversation going. And this one's huge. You have to embrace your mistakes. Seriously, see them as a chance to learn, not something to be embarrassed about. And lastly, set yourself small, totally achievable goals. Like, I'm going to use 2 new words today.
Those little victories add up and build some serious momentum. But the real question is, does all this stuff actually work? Let's check out a couple of real stories that show how this can take someone from being totally hesitant to actually leading the conversation.
So first up, meet Sarah. She's a total beginner in French. And like a lot of us when we're starting out, she was super shy, really intimidated by the whole idea of talking to a native speaker. So here's what her journey looked like. It's a really clear step-by-step path. She didn't just jump into the deep end. Nope. She started out just by listening and using the text chat. Then, as she got more comfortable with the group, she started to speak a little, got some really helpful, gentle feedback. And you know what? Before she knew it, she wasn't just part of the conversation. She was starting her own. Okay, now let's talk about Raj. He's in a totally different spot. He's already an intermediate English speaker, but his goal is all about mastering professional communication, for his career. And Raj's approach was super targeted. He found rooms that were all about practicing specific business situations. So he's in there talking with other professionals, learning the ropes, and he wasn't just fixing his grammar. He was mastering professional idioms, figuring out the cultural stuff. And the result of all that? He absolutely nailed a high-stakes job presentation. It just goes to show how this kind of practice can lead to major, real-world wins. If you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. Confident communication is not about being perfect. It's about connection. It's about sharing an idea, understanding someone else, and being understood in return. That's the real win. So that leaves us with one last question for you. It's a challenge, really. Now that you know perfection isn't the goal, what conversation are you going to start today?